Hi everyone, this is Gary Wilson and welcome to tonight's live Path to Profit webinar. And welcome aboard, especially to all the newer folks. If this is your first one, you'll recognize very quickly that you're by default in mute mode. You're muted by the system, and it's simply because there's a lot of you on. There's over 100 signed up and 75 are currently on, and we just can't ever have everyone in verbal or vocal mode at the same time, obviously. So we will, from time to time, unmute you. But in the meantime, you can use the question box to type in your questions, and obviously I'll get to those as we go through the session tonight. Also, please always remember to look for the recording the next day. Even though if you're on live, that's great. Some of you're going to be listening to this in recorded mode. Either way, always look at the email from Beverly, because she's usually providing some other information, system upgrades and enhancements, upgrades or modifications to the training platform, to the actual content, things like that. Also, the upcoming webinar schedule. We just did add another webinar in November, by the way. On Monday, December 27th, we just scheduled another one. And in December, you'll see they're all going to be, let's see, the 6th, the 13th, and the 18th of December. So the week of Christmas, there will not be a weekly webinar that week. We do that sometimes twice a year. We reserve the option to do that 4 times in a year, just because there's different, there's, like, for me, for example, sometimes I do community level work. I've done mission work before, and sometimes there's just no way to access any phone. Sometimes is difficult, let alone internet. So it doesn't happen a lot, but we try to do 48 of these a year, but usually we get 50 in. So in any case, look for that information from Beverly. If you could, that would be wonderful. Also, remember that you get to choose the subject for these weekly webinars. So thanks to Miho, that's why we're doing this subject tonight, because she and I had a great call a week or so ago, and she emailed me and wanted to go over this tonight. And actually, we're meeting not this weekend. I'll be at the NAR conference this weekend, but the following weekend I'll be in the LA area. We're going to meet with a few students out there and grab a bite to eat at PF Chang's in Woodland Hills. So if you're in the area, remember, we're meeting Saturday night, PF Chang's in Woodland Hills, which is near Calabasas, kind of sort of west of West Hollywood. Okay, some of the M1 guys are out that way, so we'd love to have you join us if you'd like. In any case, thanks to Miho, this is why we have tonight's subject. Okay, also Tom from Medford, New Jersey, we had a talk earlier. He wanted to go over the same thing, so it's just almost uncanny that this is what we're talking about tonight. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop to it, guys. First things first, let's go over, let's do this. I want to show you a checklist, and here it is right here. Now, some of you may not have seen this, especially if you're relatively new. Now, whether you're using this letter as an investor looking to get your own investment properties, or you're using this as an agent to find investment properties for your buyers, in other words, you're looking perhaps to list it, or do an off-market deal, that's okay. You always want to follow the checklist. Okay, so let's do that first. Let's get the checklist out of the way. Then we'll look at the letter, review the letter. We won't spend a lot of time doing that because most of you have already seen the letter. You already have it. I've gone over it with you in classes, for example. And then at the end, we're going to go over public records, tax assessors data, and actually court records on your public websites. Okay. And at the end, I'll go over all of the additional resources you have available to you, whether you're in the U.S. or Canada, either way. Okay. So first things first, whenever you use a letter, you want to have an absolute, the specific goal in mind. So Tom, for example, is looking for a property equivalent to 6 or more units, okay, for one of his clients. So that would be the goal. Now, once we know the goal, everything else becomes a lot more clear. So when we go to look at the databases, which I'll show you later, we'll know we're looking specifically for owners of 6-unit buildings or more in this example. Okay. Now number two is what type of property. Well, obviously, we're looking for a multi-unit in this example. So, Tom, if it's okay with you, we'll just use your example as our model tonight. Okay, if you're looking for rental property, multi-unit, 6 units. You also want to make sure you have a copy of the letter itself. So let's just look at that real quick so you know what I'm referring to. This is the one that most of you have actually seen in the actual classrooms, or if you're in one of the groups that we've done online, we still provide this. And you do have it available to you in all of your materials, okay? That's the letter. We're going to go over the letter in a minute. I just want to refer this to you. I'll refer you to this as item number 3 on the checklist. Okay, number 4. We use the process, what we call the 3-part process, to determine the best areas to invest in, okay? So part A of that is using your school report. Now, some of you are pretty new and you might not have developed your school report yet. Don't worry about that. We can definitely help you with that, okay? So school report tells us by school area and price range what are the best areas to be investing in. Now, just so you know, in New York City, we don't use the school area information. We use the zip code information. Up in Canada, we don't use the school area information because we don't have it available to us. We actually use the area field, the MLS area field, when we're in Canada, okay? But in most of the other states, you actually have the ability to determine the school area for where your properties are located, okay? And I'm not going to go over all that tonight. That's a completely different subject. We'll do that on a different night. Plus, most of you have seen that process demonstrated for you already using the school report, then going to Melissa data, okay? And Melissa data is where you can further narrow things down. Once you know your school area, you can determine the zip codes that are serviced by the school area, for example, by going to the school district website. They often will give you the specific zip codes, but more often than not, they give you the towns and neighborhoods they service. Then you can use a tool called zipcodes.com to go in and determine the zip codes for those areas. Quite very easy to do. In any case, we get that information, then we go into Melissa data, plug in the zip codes, and get the carrier route information, okay? And that's how we determine there's our specific areas we're searching in down to the neighborhood level, all right? Now, after that, we start to use other information like public records. In any case, we're going to go into that a little bit later tonight, but I just want to let you know that in most cases, you have access to plaintiff and defendant records, not all the details of any particular case, but just the plaintiff and defendant identity records, basically name and address. In some parts of the country, in some parts of Canada and U.S., it's a little bit more of a challenge to find the information. However, we do have tools available to allow us to do that. We're going to look at those a little bit later tonight. And anything that you can file on, you can find data on. So like divorce, bankruptcy, foreclosure, probate, landlord-tenant issues, there's anything you can file on, you can find in these public records, okay? Now, the reality is the reason we're doing that is once we determine the areas we're going to invest in by using school report and Melissa data and planning commission websites for the final kind of litmus test, we're not going to send letters to everybody in those areas. That still would be a lot of letters. What we will do, though, is look for people who fall into any of these categories of going through, the life events of these divorce, bankruptcy, foreclosure, for example. Those are major life-changing events, and those people are more likely to want to, need to, or have to sell. Okay. Now, just to emphasize something, we're not chasing ambulances, or that's not what we're doing. If you look at the letter, which we'll look at later on, we're not. We're not saying anything at all about their personal circumstances. We're simply offering a solution in a very easy way that's not direct contact. It's non-confrontational. We're simply offering a solution. Okay, and that's just the modus operandi that we follow there. In any case, you send a letter to these folks, okay, using these previous steps, and at another webinar, we can go over these steps if you'd like. Okay, school report, planning commission, Melissa data, and so forth. Okay, it's just we'd be on for 2 hours tonight if we did all that. In any case, you send the letter out, assuming you know where you're sending it to. And the letter, because it's direct mail, is a repeat process. What that means is you send this letter up to 12 times, okay? And by the way, when someone does respond to you, you no longer have to send them the letter. Then once they've responded, they're now a prospect, and if you follow up with them or work with them in realtor mode, okay? Or in the case of an investor, you would just contact them or work with them directly one-on-one, okay? Now, step number 8 is you follow up, obviously, with people who contact you, but more importantly, you want to set an appointment, okay? Whether you're investing for yourself or working with investors, there's no way you'll know how to determine the next step until you actually can put eyes on the property. And this is where a lot of people run into trouble. You know, the person on the other end of the phone is going to say, well, why don't you just tell me what you think it's worth? You know, and I'll always remind them that, you know, I can give them information from the county tax assessor's database, but that doesn't mean that it's accurate. You know, the only way I can get specific enough to be meaningful is if I actually see the property, walk through, fill out one of the information sheets, and go back and look for comparables, okay? That's how you determine a range of values for a property. So in any case, once you explain this to them, generally speaking, you've got your appointment set, and you got to do your business on the appointment, okay? So in any case, you follow up with them by going by the property, the subject property. That's what number 8 is all about. Now, once you do that, if you're an investor agent, if you're an investor and an agent, good news is you can play a number of different roles. If you go in an investor mode, only to find out it really doesn't work for you as an investment, you can put on your realtor hat and say, no problem. I got plenty of investors I work with. Maybe perhaps one of them would like the property. I'll get it sold for you, okay? Now you've got yourself a client, and you do your business and either get the property listed or get it under contract, okay? So in any case, let me do a quick pause here before we go further and look for questions. Okay, actually, here's one from D again. Okay, so D says, okay, Planning Commission website is in Delaware. Is not as easily laid out as the one you show for PA. Any suggestions? Yeah, so D, every county is going to have one, and also every municipality is going to have one. So if you're in Newark or Wilmington, you know, Wilmington's a bigger area, obviously more population than Newark, I believe. Anyways, of course, you got Dover and things like that. You can look at the municipal levels, D, just to see if they have good information or more information. The county ones generally are better, and the county and all of them, D, and for everybody here, just remember, no two Planning Commission websites look alike, and we've had situations before where we really had to dig down deep and find the information we wanted. So sometimes it's a little bit cryptic. In other words, they don't just say something like neighborhood data on it, where there's a button you can push. It might say something like files, property files, data files. We've actually have seen them say actually census data, and yes, sometimes they've even said neighborhood data. Sometimes you got to drill down by the zip code level. Sometimes you got to drill down by the neighborhood level, or in the zip code level. They'll go to, you have the 4-digit extension. You have to do that too, okay? In any case, almost always been able to find some data. Sometimes it's a series of reports that are in PDF, but usually we find some pretty good data. And in D, and for everybody else here, if you do find that you don't get, you want more information, more data, you can certainly go directly to your uscensus.gov in the US and Stats Canada up in Canada. And it's the same whether you're in Quebec, Ontario, British Columbia. The Stats Canada works the same in all the provinces, and uncensus.gov works the same in all the states. It is the mother lode of data. That's the big source of data for everywhere. And the good news is about real estate data, kind of going back to Dee's original question, is neighborhood data actually is pretty good for quite a long time. It just, neighborhoods just don't change that rapidly. If you think about it, D, and for everybody, the only time a neighborhood changes really dramatically is if a new industry moves into the area or an industry moves out of the area. There's some dramatic change, something in the marketplace. Okay, you certainly do have new development going on. I mean, there's always building going further out, further out, further out. But existing neighborhoods really don't change much. The only time they really do in and of their own merit is if they're in a city, inside the city boundaries, and that city is going through what's called gentrification. And we've seen this in all the older cities, where in centrifugal bands, starting in the middle, older, beat up properties are being bought up and being remodeled and put back on the market with really nice high-end fixtures and features and benefits. That trend started back in like the late 70s and it's continuing today. That would be an exception. But still, that's not going to change overnight. It may take years for that neighborhood to change. I've seen neighborhoods where gentrification started back in the 80s, late 80s, and it's still going on. I mean, this is now 30 years later. So just know this: that the data, relatively speaking, when it comes to real estate, does not change as rapidly as data related to like stocks and bonds and things like that. Okay, but D, that's an awesome question. And by the way, thank you for the observation, because you're right. No two websites are the same when it comes to planning commissions. And some of them do have regions. Oh, hey D, do me a favor. Look and see if you're part of a regional planning commission, because those regional planning commissions often have even more data. Okay, Miho says she's joining at PF Chang's. That's awesome. Okay, so that's the checklist. Let's do this, guys. Let's just do a quick review on the letter, all right? And then we're going to go look some examples. So let's go to the letter. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because most of you have already seen this, but if you haven't or it's been a while, obviously repetition is the mother of learning, right? So first things first, right out of the gate, you'll notice up, Dear Clay, the salutation is name specific and first name only, okay? Now, a couple of things here. Number one is, the only time we do not use a first name is if we know for a fact that we're writing to a doctor. In other words, the property we're writing this letter about is owned by a doctor. We actually refer to them as doctor and their last name, whether they're male or female. Most doctors want to be referred to as doctor and their last name. In almost all of the cases, we're using first name only because it's more personal. Now, another thing you'll notice here is there's no letterhead up above this. The Dear Clay is the first thing people see. There's no letterhead that gives you your logo and your contact information, all that stuff. A lot of times basically tips people off and they just basically throw it away. Now, just like every rule, there's also an exception. So there is an exception for when you're using a letter and you do want to use letterhead. And the exception is this: if you're sending a letter to an owner of a large building, 50-unit building, a strip mall, just something that's not just like a duplex or a single-family home or something like that. In those cases, sometimes it is better to use a letterhead, okay, because it's more professional looking, and those people might pay more attention to it. And often those properties are owned by groups of people, sometimes an LLC, okay? But regardless, the general is first name only, personal salutation, no letterhead, okay? Now, first sentence, we want to grab their attention right away, so we mention their property right out of the gate. So, Dear Clay, I'm writing to you about your property located at 17 Elm Lane in Etna. Now, years ago, guys, I actually received this letter as a recipient, and it worked on me mainly because the first sentence got my attention because I owned the property that they wrote me about. And I'm thinking, okay, what's this about? No letterhead. I'm thinking, okay, what's this about? We're going to capitalize on that by using what's called a positioning statement, which is this next statement here. I'm not suggesting you sell your property if you don't want to. Okay, now, whether you're an investor or an agent, this statement works. It's called a positioning statement to position the reader to have to read what's next. Okay, now, what's interesting is when we say I'm not suggesting you sell your property if you don't want to, what are we actually suggesting? So go ahead and type in your answer. What are we actually suggesting in that statement? If you could type it in your question box, that will let me know that you're engaged and you're following along here. So when we make that statement, I'm not suggesting you sell your property if you don't want to. In your opinion, what are we actually suggesting that they do? Well, that's right. You got it. People are typing in, sell the property. Now, I thought that was pretty cool, but it actually gets better. Whenever we start something off in the negative, I'm not, this is not, he's not, she's not, what is the human brain required to go and do? Okay? Well, what happens is we're all wired the same. Whenever we start something in a negative, it's called if not, then what? Okay, if it's not that, then what is it? We go to the positive, okay? We have to find out what this is about. So it's basically called a language pattern or language of sales. In the case, we follow that with what we want them to read. What are we positioning them to read? Well, it's a statement of fact, which is this. However, inventory is tight right now. It creates intrigue because when you say something like inventory is tight to somebody who owns inventory, in this example, inventory is property, it creates intrigue. Like, okay, inventory is tight. You got my attention. I get it. I'm, the man with the gold makes the rules. I've got the gold. I'm in good shape. Okay. Now we continue that sentence with what's called a power statement, which is this. And I have clients, plural, like Mr. Matajasic. And again, in this example, we're referring to one of our clients, one of our investors who wants to buy a property that this fellow owns. Okay. Now, if you're an investor and you're using this letter for yourself, obviously you wouldn't say, and I have clients like Mr. Matajasic, you would say, refer to yourself, I in the singular and personal. And I, continue here, want to buy a 4-unit building just like yours in your area. So either you're going to say I, or you're going to say I have clients like Mr. Matajasic, and then continue, want to buy a 4-unit building just like yours in your area. Now, just so you know, whenever you put somebody's name in here, in the case of the agents that are using this to represent investors, it ramps up your response rates, okay? It makes it more personal, makes it more real. And this is a real authentic person, by the way. We don't make this name up. This is an actual person, okay? Somebody who really does want to buy, in this example, a 4-unit building, which is what comes next. Who want to buy a 4-unit building just like yours in your area, okay? Just remember, when you put the name in, response rates go up. Take the name out, response rates go down. It's just the nature of the beast, okay? This makes it more real when you do that. Now, we're getting ready to make an offer here, and before we do, we're going to soften them up by saying this. That's why I specifically sought you out. Now, multiple people get the letter. In other words, there's a multitude of 4-unit buildings in this area. We're sending this letter to all the 4-unit building owners in the area. Clay just happens to be one of them. 17 Elm just happens to be one of them. There's multiple properties that have 4 units in that area. Okay, but regardless, we want them to feel like we specifically sought them out, which technically we did. Okay, so they feel they're more open to our offer, which is this. So even if you're just curious of what your property would sell for, please let me know. Be glad to give your free evaluation. Okay, now, if you think about this, no matter what position you're coming from, whether you're an investor or an agent, this will solicit a response, not from everybody, but from about 15% of the people. Actually, you'll have higher response rates. The conversion rate is about 15% on this. That's, matter of fact, the person that I think it was Jeremy Olson just emailed me. His conversion rate was right around 20%. On the letter of the people of the respondents. So these conversion rates are based on response rates, okay? Response rate was about 10%, which is really good, okay? So in any case, much better than postcards, by the way, or mass mailings. In any case, now back to this. Let me do a quick pause here and look back for questions and comments before we continue. Okay, let's see, Kim. Oh, yeah, Kim was, thanks, Kim. Kim was just mentioning, she's responding to my last question is yes. This is important because selling will be a great idea for them, right? Let's see, what next is from Frank. Yep, sell your property. Genevieve, looking to sell an evaluation, absolutely. Cedric, that's right, it's a negative takeaway. Yeah, the takeaway, and Cedric, I'm not like a genius in any of this kind of stuff, But whenever you do something like that, people don't like that. They don't want to have something taken away from them, right? So thanks for bringing that up. Okay, D is asking, okay, where do we get the contact info of the people who own, oops, hang on one second, guys. I thought I had my phone turned off there. Okay, so D is asking, where do we get the contact info of the people who own these properties? Oh, D, I'm sorry. Yes, you're going to your county's property file. So, okay, so if you think about it, D, and when you're looking at a listing on your MLS, you often want to get the associated tax record with that property, the property tax record, so you can get, you can see if the current owner is current on their taxes, what they've been paying for their taxes, what the tax assessor thinks of the property. Well, the good news is all those files are now accessible to all of us, whether you go through the MLS or not. Sometimes it's easier to go through your MLS because you just click on the button where it says tax record, and it takes you right into your property tax file. Some people call it the recorder of deeds files. Some people call them the tax assessor's files. Basically, they're the property files. So when we're looking for 4-unit buildings in this example, we would go out and look for properties of that class or type, and then grab all those properties. Okay, some systems are more sophisticated than others, but that's where we get the information from. Okay, now I'm going to get more specific, D, here in a minute, but I just want to give you the basic general answer now. We can find all the property information on every property we want, also for free. Okay, by using your tax assessor's records. Okay, let's see. Ebony is asking, what if I do not have a client's name to include? So Ebony, if you're an agent, you probably already have some people who you would consider contacts in your contact management system. Okay, if you're brand new to agency or brokerage, the first thing you want to do is reach out to the people you know. Okay, that's one of the first things to do, is always make sure you reach out to your current sphere, let them know that you have a license. Okay, and when you do that, you could ask them, say, have you ever considered flipping a home or buying a rental? And for those that respond to you, now you've got a name you could use. You want to get their permission first. Okay, always get them used to. So in this example here, I'm using Mr. Matajasic. I only use one client, last name only, and always get their permission first. Okay, so you don't ever want to make anything up, Ebony. You always want to make sure you use an actual authentic name there. Okay, now sometimes it's just somebody from your own sphere, and that's okay. You got to start somewhere, right? Okay, let's see. D. Brian is asking, can we use your tagline? Let me see here. Oh yeah, I remember this. Yes, absolutely can. We instruct, inform, and assist our clients and advisors in building wealth and income through real estate with their homes and investment properties guaranteed. Now, this, by the way, a lot of people look at this and think it's a disclosure. It's not a disclosure. It is a tagline. It's actually a what we call an irresistible offer. And so what we're doing here is, if you think about it, I'm working constantly with agents and investors. All right. In fact, my old brokerage company was built on this platform, and that's why it was so popular. It grew like crazy. And we instruct our agents, we instruct our investors, we inform them, we assist them. Again, clients are what we call the agents, clients are the investors, in building wealth and income through real estate, whether it's their own homes or investment properties, guaranteed. Now, what are we guaranteeing? Well, we're guaranteeing that we instruct, inform, and assist. That's what we're guaranteeing. And if you know people that have worked for me in the past, I'm probably one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, but boy, I tell you what, when it comes to business, I can get pretty demanding. It's funny, if you ever ask Beverly or Jody, they'll say the same thing, or say, Gary's one of the nicest guys we've ever worked for, but boy, is he demanding. And it's only because, we're all clients too, and I'm a client myself. I didn't have my license, and I was a client. And I really basically looked for the people who were really good service providers, and I rewarded them with lots of business. Okay, well, I feel like we need to do the same thing for our guys. Let's knock their socks off with good information and good tools and good techniques and good strategies to help them make really good decisions on investing. And as a result, we create that strong bond, that strong relationship with them, and we get rewarded as a result. So I'm sorry to go off on a tangent, T, but you absolutely can use my tagline. That's the short version. Yes, use my tagline. If it helps you, I'm glad to. Anything, by the way, guys, that I have done in my business that I share with you, I share it with you freely, openly. I mean, I know you've invested in the program, but what I'm getting at is my own personal stuff. I share with you, whether you're in the program or not, and whether you pay for it or not, just for the asking. It's if it helps you, I'm glad to do it. Okay, so Dennis is asking, you have no date at the top of the letter. Is this avoided for a reason? So Dennis, yeah, the reason is we don't want to have a letterhead in most cases. That's why we don't put a date. I always hand sign these letters, by the way. You'll notice here that this is typed, obviously. That's because I can't even read my own handwriting sometimes. However, handwritten letters do often bring in higher response rates. What I'm getting at, though, Dennis, is sometimes when I sign it, I might put a date on there, okay? But in the letter itself, I want to make it look as unofficial and informal as possible. But thank you for the observation and the question, too. Okay, Esther is asking, can you please send the information on how to find the properties through MLS? So Esther, when you go into the MLS, there's always some of you are using something called a realist. Some are using CRS. Some are using RPR. But whatever that interface is, Esther, for your system, that interface is where you want to get to. That's what allows you to access the property files. In fact, if you just Google, I think you're in Newark, if I'm not mistaken. If you just Google Newark property files or your county, actually do the county level, Esther. Type in the county level, county tax assessment data, or county real estate, whatever your county's name is. Your county's, put the county name and then type in these words, tax assessment, and you'll get up, you should get a couple responses. Look for the ones that's the official government site, and now you're accessing the data directly. The reason why I suggested going through the MLS is everybody on this webinar understands what the MLS is, and you can go in, and all the MLS systems now grant you access through their interface to the tax records, the property tax records. Now, I will tell you this, some of those interfaces are actually quite sophisticated, and you can search by all kinds of criteria. So I suggest start with your MLS. Now, and by the way, also, Esther, there's four basic systems out there in existence for MLS. However, there's like 404 versions of this source. So Esther, there's no way I would know all the different 404 versions, but I do know that all the county files are made available to the agents. And by the way, that also includes everyone up in the Canadian provinces too. So all of that is available to us. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. This is Genevieve. Okay, Genevieve is asking, "Hi Gary. Sorry if I'm changing the subject a little, but you had mentioned on a previous course that you were looking into purchasing an investor's financing generator. Did this happen? And how does it help us in Canada, USA?" Hey Genevieve, thank you for bringing it up, because guess what, guys? We actually bought the license for that program. So we have a program now where we can give you a list of the cash buyers in your area. That you can do it by town or county or zip code or state, and you can go back like 90 days. You can go back 5 years. So for right now, hold on to your hats, because we got to figure out now the interface for you guys to access it. We're trying to do it where we're paying for it. We're just trying to do it where you don't have to pay for it. And what we're going to do is get it out there and make it available to you during the time of your training program for free. And if you like it, we're hoping to be able to offer it to you at a really dramatically reduced rate. In other words, for you to access it individually, guys, just know this: it costs like $200 per month. Okay. Now I can buy this system for $30,000. we don't want to do that yet until we see that you guys actually like the information and want to use it. For right now, though, we bought an individual license, and we're going to give you access to that. We just have to build the interface. And if you like it, when your year's up, we'll let you stay on board. We just don't know how that's going to look at. And by the way, it's not going to be $200 a month. In fact, we're trying to make it so it's part of the silver level membership. I don't know that we'll get them. Maybe we can get it down to hopefully below 100 a month. Maybe get it to, like, say, $80 a month, 79 a month, something like that. We're trying to figure that out now. It's based on volume. So the more of you guys who like this, what Genevieve is asking about, the cheaper we can make it. So for right now, we're going to work on the interface to make that available to you. And all you got to do, guys, is type in a panel what area you're in and how far back you want to go. And within 24 hours, we're going to give you a report via email. So we're that close. So Genevieve, thank you for asking a question. Oh, and for Canada, we don't know that they're going to make that available for Canada right now. We've told them that we want it to, because I'm part Canadian myself. I live up there part-time, and so I also want it for myself personally. And we've got lots of students and investors up there. So in any case, we're working on that too, Genevieve. But regardless, at least you'll be able to use it at a minimum in the U.S. To find cash investors, because while you have Canadians investing in the U.S., we do have U.S. citizens who do invest in Canada, okay? And it does help to know who the cash buyers are. In any case, thanks for bringing up that question. I almost forgot to mention that to you guys. It's like you're reading my mind or something. Okay, so back to the letter. Let's do this now, guys. I want to go ahead and show you how we actually use this, how we send it out. And we got a lot of good questions here that should lead us to the next subject. Is everybody clear so far? Everybody okay so far on what we talked about tonight so far? The letter itself, and the fact that we're getting addresses from your tax assessor's database. And we can also get names and addresses, by the way, from public records, which is what we're going to show you next here, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. I will check. I'll give you a second to type in questions if you have them, and then we'll go ahead and continue on and show you the next part of the subject for tonight. Okay, looks like we do have a couple questions coming in, so hang on one second. Frank is interested in cash investors for Camden County, New Jersey. So Frank, what we'll do is, if you want to shoot an email to me, Frank, and what I'll do is I'll send you a report. I'll show you what we're talking about. In fact, you know what I'll do, guys? Let's bring that up. Let's do a demonstration of this next week. So write this down. For next week's webinar, which is going to be another Wednesday webinar, I'm going to show you this platform, okay? So let me write this down. Let's see, cash buyer platform, okay? We'll do a demonstration. That way you guys can see, how much you really like it. So far, I've tested it before myself, and I've used it with a couple of folks that I know personally, and everybody says the same thing. Just sign me up, Gary. I mean, that's some pretty potent information there. Let's see, Thomas, Burlington County, New Jersey sounds great. Yep. Let's see, somebody, okay, this is from Kim. Okay, Kim says, I was messing around with Melissa data. Are you looking at apartment numbers versus residential numbers as a way of looking at even single home rentals? Does that make sense? Yes. Good question, Kim. It's Kim Seaman, by the way. Thanks, Kim. When you're looking at Melissa data and you're looking at your planning commission websites, we're looking for areas to flip in, guys. We're looking for areas that are at least 2/3 owner occupant. And they give you those stats. They'll tell you the percentage of people that own or owner occupied properties. That's for flippers. For people renting single family homes or renting it, and generally speaking, we're looking for areas that are between 1/3 and 2/3 renter occupied. So let me just repeat that slowly. When you're looking for flip properties, you want to be in an area that's greater than 2/3 owner occupied. When you're looking for rentals, you generally speaking want to be in areas that are between 1/3 and 2/3 renter occupied, and you can get those stats. Now, there are exceptions. So Kim, for example, if you're looking to buy rentals and you're in an area that's very close to hospital systems, university systems, high-tech office parks, things like that, if the rentership is even up above 80 or 90%, I would still buy rentals in those areas. That's an exception to the rule. Man, those industries are relatively recession-proof, so it doesn't matter what the economy is doing. Those rentals always do well. They're going to cost you more up front, but just know long-term you're going to profit more too as a result. That's a great question, by the way. Thank you very much. Okay, let's see. Kim, another one. So looking at business numbers plays a large part as well. Yeah, so Kim, just on Melissa data, if you're in an area that has a high number of businesses, you always want to get more data because those businesses might not be the kind of businesses that you want to own property around, okay? I mean, if there are a lot of nightclubs and bars and things like that, you probably don't want to buy a lot of properties around there, all right? If it's around an industrial area or, like just places like that, you just want to be careful of. So make sure you get more information if there's a high number of businesses in the Melissa data. Okay, let's do this, guys. I want to go into the next part, which is, let's show, here's the files. Okay, I'm gonna go backwards, guys, into My Investment Services so we know where we're starting from. All right, let me pull my panel over. So I'm not going to be able to see you for a second. I'm going to reduce my panel so I can see the whole screen. All right, so when you log into My Investment Services, okay, this is the first screen you see. Click on Members area. So everybody just put your pencils down and kind of watch this for a second. Click on the Members area first, okay? Now, by default, every one of you is automatically in the silver level, okay? Bronze is like people, it just basically, they're just dabbling, they're putting their toes in the water, they're not really doing anything, they want some basic information. The players are in the silver level. This is all you guys, investors and agents alike. We click on that, and notice right away, we just did a system upgrade. So this is the new look here, okay? And in our case, we're going to click on Enter Silver Level, okay? And if you notice, this is, I believe, much more user-friendly than what we had before. Before it was just basically a list from top to bottom of all the resources. And at the beginning, 3 years ago, that was great. But now there's so much information out there, it's almost ridiculous how much information there is available to you guys on this. In any case, you'll see over here is the panel. You can go back home. You can click on the newsletter. We do newsletters every month. They're only electronic and they're only accessible by you. So this isn't like a newsletter that we're using to, bring in more people. I mean, it'd be great if we did, but this is for you guys. Okay, it's internal. You have to be a member to get this newsletter. In any case, the blog, we do a weekly blog, obviously. I don't know if there's any blogs down here. I think there are down below. Yeah, there's some blogs for you right there. Okay. The webinar, all right. The weekly, so this is the current one. This is the recordings going back over time, okay? So in any case, interviews, we've interviewed people on a regular basis. The premier ebooks, these are the ones you guys get for free. Everybody else has to pay for them, okay? The regular ebooks, which are free to everybody. Now let's click on Marketing Techniques and Docs. Let's click on that, okay? And we're going to scroll down. There's the mailer we have another mailer that goes out to apartment owners that actually does have a letterhead. That version here, here, I'll just bring it up and show you. This is usually going out to people that own bigger properties. And it should bring it up. Let's see, maybe we'll just click on this. There it is. Not much of a letterhead, but a decent sized letterhead, much bigger letter. Okay, this is usually us trying to do like syndications and things like that. Okay, so let me pop that back out of there and go back to the website. I just want to point that out for a second. Let's get out of that. Go back here. Oops, I just got out of the website. Okay, sorry guys, I'm going to start over again. My investment services, members area, silver, log in, and here's what I want to show you. Marketing techniques and docs. And if you scroll down, you'll see other resources and tools, the booklet, tax strategies, financing doc. This is all the different financing strategies. And here's what I want to show you. This is for everyone in US and Canada. I'm going to show you another one here in a moment with just Canadian resources. Okay, US Economic Development Agencies. BRB Publications is an awesome, awesome tool no matter where you are. So let's click on that. Hopefully this will let me do it. I might have to, that took me to a blog. Okay, so I'm not sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the link, I hope. Actually, let me just go over here and do this. BRB Publications, okay? Go back here. For some reason, it never likes the links inside those documents. BRB Publications, okay? And here we go. So you can click in. So let's go to Delaware, okay? Since Dee was bringing up some really good questions a moment ago. Click on Delaware, here we go. You can see public record search D, and they're all trial courts, business entities, licenses. So you can search for people that have licenses for dentistry, for acupuncture. Teachers have licenses, all kinds of licensures out there. You can get the name and address of the person who filed the business entity that recorded it at the state level. Court records, all kinds of neat stuff. Okay. Also, here's your counties. At the county level, there's Newcastle and Sussex and Kent. So down here is different websites you can go to, right? So let's just click on Kent County. All right. Recorded document location. Visit that website. Court locations. Visit there. Free public record search sites. Okay. There's property tax and ownership GIS mapping. Okay. By the way, for those of you who don't know, there is a system called GIS data that exists in US and Canada. Okay. It's a great program. In any case, here's we don't want to do a plan survey. What's next? Zoom print. Okay, land use, zoning permits, aerials, roads and addresses, public works, boundary districts. Okay, parcels. Let's click on roads and addresses. All right. I guess this is how finite we want to get it. Okay. In any case, I want to reduce this. Oh, maybe I wanted to expand it. Hang on a second. Okay. And I'm not quite sure. Oh, here we go. Find an address. Let's see. Addresses, road names, owners, development. So these are all the search. So D, you can search by all this criteria here: development, owners, road name, addresses. Let's click on road name. I don't know a road name. Let's just put Kent Road since we're in Kent. There it is. Well, Kenton Road. Let's do that. And search. And here you get all the properties on Kent Road. In any case, that's just one example of what I wanted to show you. I'm gonna go back though. Let's clear out that one and go into public records. Okay. Oh, sorry, I just clicked on the same thing. Let me get out of there one more time. Sorry, guys. Don't ever let me get in control of a computer because we'll be here all night. Okay, display case information, activities, search for judgments against persons and businesses, search by person name, business name, or case type. Let's click on that. We're going to accept their terms, which means information is private. I'm sorry, not private, but we won't sell the information is what they're saying. So let's do civil actions. Beginning date, let's go back a week. Let's do 10/25. Oh, sorry. 25 is first, dash the month, which is 10-25 2017. We're going to go to 01/11/2017. So this is last Wednesday to today, all civil actions. And now it says we need here last name or company name. And I don't have a last name or company name, but I can just put in Wilson. Okay. Let's see what happens here. I'm going to leave that blank. And we might want to go back a year perhaps, because I don't know how many Wilsons have done any filings in the last year in Kent County, but we'll find out. Okay, not a valid search area, please check back button. Okay, so we put a name, a check for partial last name, sorry, let's do that. Let's do all case types. But in any case, what I'm getting at is you have the ability to search for records in your area, okay? Let me go back to the tools here. That's BRB. Here's Canada land data, okay, NRC or NR Canada. Canada assessment links, okay, you can find property assessments in Canada. Book of lists, so this book of lists, guys, allows you to get contact information for the heads of businesses, the top 25 businesses in every industry in your area, okay? That's a powerful tool, all right? And the CanadianBusiness.com is a similar tool. Now what I want to do is I want to make sure you understand these aren't the only resources. I want you to write something down if you could, please. You can use a, Cedric is on here. Cedric, I've heard of this before, but Cedric and I did a demonstration of this probably a few months ago. And the tool was something we realized in certain counties in certain parts of the country and U.S. we had to use. It's called Rebo Gateway. It's called Rebo Gateway, R-E-B-O Gateway. It's a paid service, but it's very affordable. It's like $30 a month. And if you're in an area, so like let's say D, you just don't like to spend all that time doing all that research yourself. Google Rebo Gateway. You can purchase their tool for like $30 a month, and it gives you access to all kinds of stuff. I mean, my gosh, property data, court data, vacant, absentee owners, properties that are going into foreclosure, all kinds of things, okay? So Rebo Gateway is a great tool in the States. Also, guys, you want to write this down too. You write down RPR. RPR is a tool that is made available to everybody as a member of NAR, National Association of Realtors, okay? If you're a member of NAR, and those of you who are licensed agents typically are members, you're going to have available more tools, access to more tools, okay, in your area, in your MLS area, okay? Now, what I want to do is go back to one more thing here. So these are links specifically for Canadians, okay? And this is, remember, part of the website that you have that you're on, that I'm on right now, the My Investment Services website, members area, go down into resources, and look at all these links. There's your Canadian postal system. It's like the equivalent to the U.S. Postal Service. All right, Stats Canada, that's the same thing as uscensus.gov. All property data from tax records is right here. Foreclosures are right here. Court records are here. Postal data targeting, that's how you actually target specific recipients for mailing pieces you're doing, marketing pieces you're doing. In any case, so if you're in Canada, just remember you have access to that right here. Just click on that. Links Gary discussed in class, Resources Canada, okay? And it's in this section here, analysis forms and calculators from training modules, all right? This one right here was what I showed you a moment ago, which has the other one that has both U.S. and Canada resources in it. So you have all these resources available to you, all right? I wanted to show you that. Now let's do this because we're getting close on time here. I'm gonna log that out, I want to show you a version of a property tax assessor's database, okay? So if you look right here, this is a property record for 4662 Sherwood Drive, okay? And I'll show you how we come up with that in a minute. But you get the owner's name and address, of course. In this case, the owner actually lived at the property. Sometimes this address is different than the property address. That's in the case of a non-owner occupied property. And the way we got there is went to the previous screen, okay, where we enter in the address of a property, 4662 Meridian. Now, for Miho, this is what you've been waiting so patiently for. I use this example because it's an example of a probate case. So what I did is I went to the court records and went to the probate cases going back for the last week or so, and all these came up, okay? I just pulled all these up. So what I'm going to do is go backwards again and show you. All right, all these, look at that, probate. All these were filed. These were the decedents. This was the case number. So I clicked on this case, Clark, John Ramsey Clark. Okay, session is terminated. I've got to go back and log in, so let me do that. Log in. And we're going to search by date range, okay? So Miho, this is what you generally see when you go into your public records, okay? Click on case by date range. We're going to go back 10, 25, and you plug in the year, so 2017, and then 11/1/2017. I'm not sure what to put in there. Let's just click in search. And there we go, same thing. So, and I got to that record, okay? So in any case, let me back up for Miho just 1 second. Go back to the beginning here. It's going to make me go, let's do this. Department of, let's go home. Okay, what I was getting at, Miho, is you basically Google, in your case, LA County Public Records, okay, and what you're looking for is a login screen. So let me go, let me start here, okay. Yeah, let's do this one here. That's what it looks like, and then you get to this screen here, okay. So if you go back here, this would generally, it looks something like this. It'll say LA County Department of Court Records, and by the way, you can get to that from BRB Publications, okay. Then you go click on your search button. Okay, sometimes they look the same, sometimes they don't. Sorry, it's not letting me. There it goes. Search by case date range, and then do your date range there. That's how I arrived at that. And if you remember, that record had in it, let's go back to the actual record and bring it back up again. I got the date it was filed. I got the person's name who's the decedent. Click on the case number. And once you have the case number, you get all kinds of great data. All right. The decedent party, where they lived, name and address, any other party associated with this. Main party, sometimes that is a executor, sometimes that's an attorney, okay? And you get all kinds of neat information that you can use in your research. So in any case, guys, that kind of brings me back full circle here. I hope that this helps you tonight. Just remember that no matter where you are, generally speaking, your version of this is going to look different. And just like me and everybody else, you kind of have to play with it to get down to the nitty-gritty. And if you get tired of doing that, just remember you can use Rebo Gateway to do that work for you. All right, let me do this. We're running over time, but let me go back and see if we have any questions here. Okay, let's see. Let me go back. Okay, we got Tom Slaterbeck's message on the area. Okay, so this is Kim. Okay, so Kim is asking, okay, I was messing around with Melissa data. Okay, we did that one, apartment account versus residential account. Oh, she's trying to write and listen at the same time. Hey, Kim, hey, good news. If you go back to the silver level membership section and you click on the recordings, you're going to see several recordings on this subject going back to 2015. There's one in particular I want to refer you to. I think it's late January 2016. It goes into great detail on what we just talked about tonight, and you can download the recordings, and you can stop and start the recordings as much as you want, Kim. And people do that all the time. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Miho says she'll search. Miho, LA Public Records. So helpful tonight, Kim. Oh, Kim, thank you very much for your comment. I appreciate that. Yeah. So next week is going to be a really good, real big. I had for next week already set up. One of our students wanted to go over Module 2, and he's from Toronto. So what we'll do is, let's do this. I'll do both next week. Let's do the cash buyer platform, and then we'll go into some parts of Module 2. And by the way, hey guys, you definitely all want to be on the November 15th webinar. Mike Sojourn is going to be on. Excuse me. He's a member of Rock Thomas's M1 group, which is March to a Million. That's basically the group of people trying to get to the first million. And he's going to go over, ironically, an entire book he wrote just on what we went over tonight on the resource tools, all the resource tools. He's going to show you a bunch more. We're going to go into examples on the 15th, so lots more available to you. So Dee, Kim, everybody on tonight, Miho, definitely be on the 15th. Mike's going to share with us some really, really cool information on how to get more data to help us find the properties and find the investors the way we need to. So in any case, guys, that's it. I appreciate your time tonight. I love the subject. I love doing this, and I appreciate the opportunity to serve you. Please remember to email me if you need a strategy call. Use the time trade link. But also let me know what other subjects you'd like to discuss on these webinars, and also how you're doing. I mean, let me know where you need help, and let's keep you going. Okay. In the meantime, have an awesome rest of the week. I'll be at NAR this weekend in Chicago, the annual NAR conference, and I'll see you next week, same time, same place, next Wednesday the 8th. And then God bless you and your families, and we'll see you then. Okay. Bye-bye.